not going to be focused on the legislative aspects. I'm going to be looking at the economic and commercial perspectives as far as GIs and trademarks are concerned. Of course, we need a legal framework to facilitate the actual use of these signs in practice. And here I will explain what you're hoping to achieve. So ideally, in terms of your IP strategy, you're responding to a need, a demand of consumers, and you seek to have IPRs in order to block competitors and to create an exclusive position in the market. So that is the background for a rationale for why you would even be looking at the use of GIs and trademarks. So the premises, and I focus a lot on GIs, but the rationale or the thinking applies in most ways to trademarks as well. But you have the trademark or the GI to provide that position of exclusivity I just mentioned. And the impact would be, amongst other things, to block competitors, to allow you to have a position of market leadership, to establish standards, etc., to allow you to appropriate the value from the IPRs. And as we'll see later in the presentation, I think this is where the region may have some challenges, and thereby to benefit from the economic effect of GIs. In other words, to be able to benefit from premium pricing. So here I provide a quote which explains why persons would be seeking GIs. We mentioned, or Marissa mentioned, some of them being sought currently in the region or already registered, and there is a growing interest amongst producers. Not only are the producers able to benefit from having a registered IPR, but consumers as well, from being able to have some assurance of quality, knowing the reputation of the products and other characteristics. So those are some of the benefits, and I'll provide a few more. So I already mentioned exclusivity, blocking of competitors, market positioning, quality assurance, transparency. They can facilitate the informed decision-making by consumers. They promote cultural diversity, local and rural development, the employment of women, and economic development along the value chain. However, whilst there are a number of benefits, there are some challenges recognized in terms of the GI and by extension as well the trademark systems. And here I provide another quote where it's the argument that substantially stronger GI protection will benefit developing country simply misstates the piling up of laws for the piling up of capital investment. And we will look at this a bit more closely. So by introducing a system of protection for geographical indications, you're not guaranteeing that you will have commercial success, and you're not able to guarantee that you will also have market access. There are a number of, let's call them challenges in terms of having the producers meet the relevant quality standards, and the investment required to continually monitor the market and defend the IPR against infringement. There have not been many empirical studies about the economic impact of GIs. And the few that have been done have shown that there are many GIs which have been registered, which have not brought more than a modest return to the producers, and in some cases, the same level of returns as non-protected GI products. The question to be answered is, are GIs the cause of premium pricing, or is there simply a correlation? As I mentioned, there are limited empirical studies, particularly in developing countries, and really I'm hoping and advocating that as we develop GIs in the region, that we do undertake to do some economic impact studies. You can have a situation, of course, it's familiar in trademarks, but also GIs, where unauthorized use can be a real problem in terms of leading to the mark becoming generic. And really important is that improper planning and management can result in negative environmental and sustainability impacts. So just as there are a series of benefits, potential benefits from the GI system, there are a few challenges. Having said that, this graphic is taken from a recent study done in the European Union, and it looked at the economic impact of GIs. And what it found is that for products which occupy a niche market with low volume and able to attract high premiums, those were 40% of the GIs. And that's the quadrant that we would want to really look at, and I'll explain why. And then you would see for other types of GIs, the impact was not as high in terms of the premium and the level of sales. So there are a number of variables that would have to be considered. But for the Caribbean, this graphic expresses the theory of Michael Porter and looking at strategy. And the reality is that we in the region are small producers, and we will never be able to occupy a position of cost leadership. So strategically, we should be looking at offering differentiated products. And in that regard, focusing on niche markets. And based on the study, the graphical results of the study I showed you on the slide before, I would argue that in spite of the challenges of the potential challenges of GIs, that overall, I would recommend that we do look closely at developing the system and promoting the system of GIs in the region. So in terms of factors which can hinder or facilitate the effectiveness of the GI/trademark system. Yes, we need to have a sound and meaningful legislative framework, but we also need to have an enabling institutional environment and good governance systems, so that we need to have the producers associations established, but we need to ensure that these are sustainable and properly managed. We need to be very realistic about the level of investment that's required in terms of advertising and marketing. The reality is that there are a lot of products, good products, that are only well known locally. So even as they are able to register GIs to apply to these products, we still need to invest to ensure that consumers globally become aware of these products. And this is not a one-off investment, this is ongoing. So producers and governments and agencies promoting the registration and use of the GI system need to be very, very clear about what will be required in terms of this type of investment. Similarly, in terms of the quality control and the ability to monitor, not only in the production, from the production side, but prior to the export of the goods. So this is a comprehensive system that, of course, will also involve, for example, the Bureau of Standards. We need to have effective enforcement mechanisms. So we start by having a sound legislative framework. But I can tell you from my practice, my day-to-day work, having the legislation in place.
Dr. Smith, you have 1 minute. Thank you.
It's totally different, soon finish, from actually being able to effectively enforce your rights. And finally, you have to look at the ability of each of the actors along the supply chain and their ability to appropriate benefits from the system. Thank you. That's all.